Okay, ladies and gentlemen, family members, welcome back. Of course, this is Human Face, Humanity First, uplifting all souls across the board. So, ladies and gentlemen, family members, today again we are here with a brand new topic about narcissistic abuse. Okay, so today we are dealing with 11 signs you are the victim of narcissistic abuse. Okay, our topic for today is 11 signs you are the victims of narcissistic abuse. Imagine this: your entire reality has been wrapped and distorted. You have been mercilessly violated, manipulated, lied to believing that you are imagining things. The person you thought you know and the life you built together have been shattered into million little fragments. Your sense of self have been eroded and diminished. You were idealized, devaluated, then shoved off the pedestal. Perhaps you were even replaced and discarded multiple times, only to be hovered and lured back to an abusive cycle of even more torturous than before. Maybe you were relentlessly choked, harassed, and bullied to stay with your abuser. This was no normal breakups or relationship. This was a setup for covert and insidious murder of your psyche and sense of safety in the world. Yet there may not be visible scars to tell the tale. All you have are broken pieces, fractured memories, and internal battle wounds. This is what narcissist abuse looks like. Psychological violence by malignant narcissistic can include verbal and emotional abuse, toxic projection, stonewalling, sabotage, smear campaigns, triangulation, along with plethora of other forms of coercion and control. This is imposed by someone who lacks empathy, demonstrates an excessive sense of entitlement, and engages in interpersonal exploitation to meet their own needs at the expense of the rights of others. As a result of chronic abuse, victims may struggle with symptoms of PTSD, complex PTSD if they had additional traumas like being abused by a narcissistic parent, or even what is known as narcissistic victim syndrome. The aftermath of narcissistic abuse can include depression, anxiety, hypervigilance, a pervasive sense of toxic shame, emotional flashbacks that regress the victim back to abusive incidents, and overwhelming feeling of hopelessness and worthlessness. When we are in the midst of an ongoing abuse cycle, it can be difficult to pinpoint exactly what we are experiencing, because abusers are able to twist and turn reality to suit their own needs, engage in intense love bombing after abusive incidents, and convince their victim that they are the ones who are abusers. If you find yourself experiencing the 11 symptoms below and you are or have been in a toxic relationship with a partner that disrespects, invalidates, and mistreats you, you may just have been terrorized by an emotional predator. Number 1, you experience dissociation as a survival mechanism. You feel emotionally or even physically detached from your environment, experiencing disruptions in your memory, perceptions, consciousness, and sense of self. Number 2, you walk on eggshells. A common symptom of trauma is avoiding anything that represents relieving the trauma, whether it be people, places, or activities that pose that threat. Whether it be your friend, partner, or family members, co-workers, or boss, you find yourself constantly watching what you say or do around these people, lest you incur the wrath, punishment, or become the object of their envy. Number 3, you put aside your basic needs and desires, sacrificing your emotional and even your physical safety to please the abuser. You may have once been full of life, goal-driven, and dream-oriented. Now you feel as if you are living just to fulfill the need and agendas of another person. Once the narcissist's entire life seemed to revolve around you, now your entire life revolves around them. You may have placed your goals, hobbies, friendships, and personal safety on the back burner just to ensure that your abuser feels satisfied in the relationship. Of course, you soon realize that he or she will never truly be satisfied, regardless of what you do or what you do not do. Number 4, you are struggling with health issues and somatic symptoms that represent your psychological turmoil. You may have gained or lost a significant amount of weight, developed serious health issues that did not exist prior, and experience physical symptoms of premature aging. The stress of chronic abuse has sent your cortisol into overdrive, and your immune system has taken a severe hit, leaving you vulnerable to physical ailments and disease. Find yourself unable to sleep or experiencing terrifying nightmare when you do. Reliving the trauma through emotional or visual flashbacks that brings you back to the site of the original wounds. Number 5, you develop a pervasive sense of mistrust. Every person now represents a threat, and you find yourself becoming anxious about the intentions of others, especially having experienced the malicious actions of someone you once trusted. Your usual cautions become hypervigilance, since the narcissistic abuser has worked hard to gaslight you into believing that your experiences are invalid. You have a hard time trusting anyone, including yourself. Number 6, you experiencing suicidal ideation or self-harming tendencies. Along with depression and anxiety may come with an increased sense of hopelessness. Your circumstances feel unbearable, as if you cannot escape even if you want to. You develop a sense of learned helplessness that makes you feel as if you don't wish to survive anymore. You may even engage in self-harming as a way to cope. Number 7, you self-isolate. Many abusers isolate their victims, but victims also isolate themselves because they feel ashamed about the abuse they are experiencing. Giving the victim blaming and misconceptions about emotional and psychological violence in society, victims may even be re-traumatized by law enforcement, family members, friends, and the harem members of the narcissist, who might invalidate their conceptions of the abuse. They fear no one will understand or help. They decide to withdraw from others as a way to avoid judgment and retaliation from the abuser. Number 8, you find yourself comparing yourself to others, often to the extent of blaming yourself for the abuse. Narcissistic abuse is highly skilled at manufacturing love triangles, or bringing another person into the dynamics of the relationship to further terrorize the victim. As a result, victims of narcissistic abuse internalize the fear that they are not enough and may constantly strive to compete for the attention and approval of the abuser. Victims may also compare themselves to others in happier, healthier relationships, or find themselves wondering why their abusers appears to treat complete strangers with more respect. This can send them down the trapdoor of wondering why me, and stuck in an abyss of self-blaming. The truth is, the abuser is the person who should be blamed. You are in no way responsible for being abused. Number 9, you self-sabotage and self-distrust. Victims often amplifying their negative self-talk and tendency towards self-sabotage. Malignant narcissists program and condition their victims to self-distrust, sometimes even to the point of driving themselves to suicide. Due to the narcissist's covert and overt put-down, verbal abuse, and hypercriticism, victims develop a tendency to punish themselves because they carry such toxic shame. They may sabotage their goals, dreams, and academic pursuits. The abuser has instilled in them a sense of worthlessness, and they begin to believe that they are undeserving of good things. Number 10, you fear doing what you love and achieving success. Since many pathological predators are envious of their victims, they punish them for succeeding. This conditions their victims to associate their joys, interest, talent, and areas of success with cruel and callous treatment. These conditionings get their victims to fear success, lest they be met with reprisal and reprimand. As a result, victims become depressed, anxious, lack confidence, and they may hide from the spotlight and allow their abusers to steal the show again and again. Realize that your abuser is not undercutting your gift because they truly believe you are inferior. It is because those gifts threatens their control over you. Number 11, you protect your abuser and even gaslight yourself. Rationalizing, minimizing, and denying the abuse are often survival mechanisms for victims in an abusive relationship. In order to reduce the cognitive dissonance that empties when the person who claims to love you mistreats you. Victims of abuse convince themselves that the abuser is really not that bad, or that they might have done something to provoke the abuse. It is important to reduce this cognitive dissonance in the other direction by reading up on narcissistic personality and abuse tactics. This way, you are able to reconcile your current reality with the narcissistic false self by recognizing that the abusive personality, not the charming facade, is their true self. Remember that an intense trauma bond is often formed between victims and abuser because the victim is trained to rely on the abuser for his or her survival. Victims may protect their abusers from legal consequences, portray a happy image of the relationship on social media, or overcompensate by sharing the blame of the abuse. Family members, thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I love you all. I'll see you again on the next video. Bye.